if you encourage them, they can go further. All they have to do is just keep at it, because it's the ones that keep trying, even though it's hard, that succeed.
Hey everybody, Sherri here again with the Operation Successful Transition podcast. And today I have a special guest, Alex Zarate. Zarate, how do you pronounce your last name?
Zarate.
Zarate.
Think
Okay,
of it
Alex.
as a karate with a Z.
Yeah. Okay. Alex Zarate, I met him at the Entrepreneur Boot Camp for Veterans, and he's become a friend of mine. He's a multi-genre author, artist, photographer, and Army veteran. He founded Zarate Creations to inspire others through storytelling, creativity, and positivity. He's got lots of different books, and we'll let him tell you more about them. Tell us, Alex, what kind of inspired you to get started in this vein of work?
When I was very young, I started having ideas to, just put down stories, or I liked art and that sort of thing. But there was a lot of discouragement. And kind of around high school, college, I kind of stopped. And then when I picked it up again, many years later, I kind of realized this was a passion. This was something that really brought me happiness, brought me joy, made everything a lot better for me. Because when I was writing, when I was doing things, when I was even taking pictures, um, it made me happy. It made me realize that this is something I enjoy doing. And as I went along and I started writing, first thing I did was urban fantasy books and thrillers, that sort of thing. And then I started putting my photography on online, and more people were responding to my photography than the books that I was writing that were thrillers and these dark, urban fantasy things.
Yeah.
But after a while, I kind of realized, like, there's a very big, need for people to see um, these books and these promotions that have more positivity. And I started realizing I have to start, sharing all these things I have, that have either my photography, my motivation, my inspirational things. And that has become the direction that I pivoted into, which is why I became a multi-genre author instead of just sticking to one genre. So I'm putting out now urban fantasy, sci-fi. I have a children's book, the Positive Pets. That's this one up here.
Yeah.
I that's one of the ones that I love doing, because I pushed that out to the world, because I wanted to make sure people could enjoy it, in all ages, instead of just having it just for grown-ups and people who like thrillers and stuff. I went ahead and I wanted to put something out for kids. And the nice thing is, it's a book about pet poetry. And I discovered in the last year or so, the advances that have taken place with how I used to have the posts I used to do, I would put online and have a voiceover, and it was like generated through the computer. The voices have improved over the years, and I kind of figured, okay, it'll get more natural sounding. However, it went beyond my expectations, and now I kind of discovered that there are actually ways of making music, and that's pretty much what a poem is. It's a same format as any kind of a song you'd have, and I realized I could put out that sort of thing in a musical format. So
Okay,
now
so you're
I've gone to
using
YouTube.
AI?
Yes,
Hang
I've
on.
gone into YouTube, and I've got the Positive Pets. I'm beginning to put those out there as songs, and I just post the picture of the page with a song being generated, and I just create the I kind of animate the book pictures a little bit, and then I put that, instead of a voiceover, it's a song overlapping the image. So it's become a lot more enjoyable, a lot more fun. I can share it a lot easier, because most people, when they hear about a poem, that's like, okay, you got to sit there and you got to kind of figure out how it goes together. If it rhymes, if it doesn't, if kids can pronounce it properly or not.
Yeah.
If you put it as a song, all of a sudden it can bring you in a lot easier.
Right.
And
That's
so
rap
now,
music is poetry, right?
yeah, that's true.
So,
Yeah, so
yeah, you mentioned at the first that your art was discouraged when you were younger, and
yes.
I see that, and I remember having friends and hearing parents say, oh, well, you'll never make a living at that, doing creative kind of things or just things that weren't what parents expected people to do. But here you are, you've turned it into a whole career and you're making a living at it. So I think
Hmm.
it's a testament to your grit that you've kept going and kept trying new things. And now you've got this whole portfolio of different things for different audiences. That's really cool.
Yeah, that's the one thing that it kind of dawned on me as I was when I returned to my writing, and it at first it was a struggle because it'd been so many years I hadn't, you know, worked on that part of my mind and tried to pull out creativity from myself. But after, I completed the project I had, it was a kind of like a challenge to try to write something in a month. And I went ahead and I did that. And it's the whole first part of the month was just a struggle. I was like, you know, telling myself, oh, maybe this isn't for me, maybe I can't do it. And it's kind of like every challenge that people have, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're an artist, or whether you're a writer. Uh, it became the biggest struggle to get back into it and try to, find your path into it. But after that, second, almost third week, it's kind of like the doors opened in my
Yeah.
mind. And all of a sudden, the creative flow that I used to have when I was younger just came flooding in. And I realized this is what I really enjoyed. This is what I look forward to. So I followed it and finished everything. And from that point on, I was like, why did I give this up?
Yeah.
I turned out what I realized was I was listening to people who didn't have that kind of a passion, who didn't have that kind of an interest. And those are the people you don't want to listen to. You want to find someone who's actually done this sort of thing and who understands the struggle and understands that, this type of a creative passion or interest, that's something that you need to encourage. It's the creative people in the world that make everything. So, to discourage us on a regular basis, it's just, yeah, you don't want to be a starving artist. You don't want to be this person who is the author who tries to write something and then just fails repeatedly. It's like, no, you don't want to tell people that that's the only path out there. You have to tell them, if you encourage them, they can go further. All they have to do is just keep at it, because it's the ones that keep trying, even though it's hard, that succeed.
That's exactly right. Creativity is a muscle, like you're saying, and the more you work it, the better it gets. And yeah, I think there's a lot of, maybe not anymore, but in my generation at least, there was a lot of the parents really were strong in their belief about the path you should take, right? Mine
Hmm.
were, you need to go to college. That was the thing
Hmm.
that, and I'm glad I did, but it took me like 8 years to get through. But that was what they wanted. And then the job I had for the first 20 years was safe and secure and what they wanted. Now I'm doing
Hmm.
what I'm passionate about, what I love. So kind of like you, I've had that. And a lot of times the people who are poo-pooing your ideas the most are the ones who love you the best and are closest to you. Not that they
Hmm.
want something bad for you, but they're just, they have your best interest at heart.
Yeah,
Parents just do the best they can with what they've got, right?
exactly. But the thing is, they don't share this passion that you have,
Yeah.
and that's something that, we need to have. That's why I pivoted into sharing more motivational, inspirational work, because I realized there is very little of it out there. There's like little niches here and there, but there's not, this outlet for people who have this creative spark, who have this mindset, to go to and enjoy something and try to realize, we have a whole community of, you know, creative people or entrepreneurs, or, there's people out there who are in the same struggle you are. You just have to find them. And very few people who are not in that type of a community will actually find it. And
Right.
if you're someone who's just started your journey as an artist or author or any creative outlet, if you don't have a family member or friends who are in that, it'll be a challenge just to be able to find it, because there's a lot of negativity out there no matter where you go now.
That's true. And they say when you're starting to succeed is when the haters come out, right? So
Oh yeah.
look forward to getting those haters. But like with any business, for you, your success depends on finding an audience. And so you found, I imagine, that it takes a while to build your followers with your positivity messages and things. And so doing the posting in that, do you have a plan for monetizing this, or is this just a service that you give on top of doing these other writings? Do you plan to put them into a book, or what's the plan with the positivity messages? I totally agree that we need those. The world has so much negativity and hate in it right now.
Oh yeah.
Everyone's just kind of confused and just mad. So I love that you're doing this positivity message.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I realized that was such a needed thing. My photography was where I started my positivity and motivational words, and I still post them online and usually on Instagram and at places like that. So it has
Hmm.
the images and then positive words. I have a book that's going to be coming out. I'm just calling it the Plus Mindset. My own personal way of looking at the world. Through adding positivity, motivation,
Hmm.
encouragement, and, even education. The more you learn, the more you understand what's going on. So
It's
if you
true.
can learn more about your path, and if you want to be an entrepreneur, if you're going to be an artist, if any path that you choose, the more you learn about it, the better you are, in the long run. And, although there's so much negativity out there, if you search for it, you'll also find all these different outlets that you have online, whether it's YouTube or Facebook or any of these places. There are communities where people have the same interest and the same you know need for expression. So once you find those things, that's where you can actually learn and grow along your path. And the book I'm going to have is going to be called The Plus Mindset. I have another one that is geared only towards creative people, and that's going to be along the lines of the Zarate Zen books I've got. It's going to be called Zen and the Creative Spark, and that is going to be just for any creative person. It's going to be an inspirational book for every chapter will be a different type of uh, creative outlet, whether it's being an actor, being a chef, being a architect, or or author, photographer. Every chapter will be something different, and it'll be kind of like my encouragement to pursue that dream that you have. That way, no matter what, you have a place to go to that it'll give you the encouragement to keep on going.
Yeah. So in each career, I would imagine that you get that kind of writer's block. Everybody hits a day where they're sort of paralyzed and they don't know what direction to
Hmm.
head, or they may know, but they just can't make it happen. So
Hmm.
this kind of helps bridge that gap, I would imagine, to give you the extra little help over the fence, right?
Yes, definitely.
Oh, good, good. So you just have more books and more positivity in
Yeah.
the uh, in the work. So do you like, so if people wanted to buy your books or to meet you, do you do like book signings, or do you go to
Hmm.
different events where you have your book set up, or do you have a
Yes.
website? How would we get a hold of you, and how would we get in touch with, buying your products?
My products are all online. My photography is in Fine Art America. They have their own online gallery that they provide. I have all my books on Amazon. You can, just do a general search for Alex G Zarate, and you'll find me and all my social media outlets that I have, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. You can look for the individual books, the Zarate Zen. You can look for the Positive Pets. The YouTube channel for Positive Pets is Positive Pets with a number four and then a U. That's where I'm putting all the music that's going to go to Positive Pets. I'm having another book this year that I want to release that's going to be called Positive Pups. Instead of being a general book for about pets, it'll be all different types of puppies, and same idea of poetry and stuff, but it's
Yeah.
gonna be all puppies for that one. And I know there's a large kind of dog community that people have. We have you know three Chihuahuas in our family, so that's always a fun thing.
Yeah. I'm a big dog girl, but I
Hmm.
agree. Everybody loves a dog. Well, almost everybody, not everyone. Some people like cats. I see a cat there on your over your shoulder staring at me.
Yep, yep. I had many cats over the years, and the urban fantasy thriller books that I write, that starts with a kitten that grows up with main character, and
Uh,
all of them just have cats, cats, cats.
Oh, very fun, very fun. So, if we were going to bless your business, we would go to Amazon, and
Mhm.
in the description, I'll go ahead and like do a search for you, so and put a link in
Mhm.
there for Amazon, and I'll hook up all your socials as well, so people can just click on the description to follow you. Is there anything else we could do to help you out besides following you and liking all your stuff online and buying your books?
It's like everything else, just like and share. I would say if you know anyone who might want to uh, have the books shared. Whether I think the Zarates are really good for positivity and encouragement. The Positive Pets would be good for kids of all ages. It's good for pet lovers. If you know people who would enjoy that type of book, just mention it to them, share it with them. I'm trying to get it out there to the world to put as much encouragement and positivity as possible.
Yeah.
So that's
Have
my
you tried
goal.
to go to the library during the kids' reading hour and read your books there?
Yes, the Children's Literary Festival was a couple of months ago, and I participated in that. So I was one of their local authors that they featured. So I got a
Nice.
table there, and I was signing in the library.
Yeah. I think during the summertime they will read stories, and that was
Hmm.
what I had in mind, but more opportunity there maybe. Well, that sounds amazing. And another question I like to ask people kind of towards the end of the interviews is if you were speaking to someone who was just about to get out of the military and become a regular citizen again, a veteran,
Hmm.
what would your biggest piece of advice be to save them from maybe some pitfalls or stumbling blocks that you might have come across or that you might have seen other people coming across? How could you ease their transition?
Um, the first thing I would say is try to connect to people that have already gone through it. There are several veteran online communities. I've gone into there's a CAVARTS, CAVARTS, that is a part of it's a veteran community online, and they have it's all about art. They have musicians, they have painters, and they also have writers and photographers. Everything and anything is on there, and that helps a lot of veterans to have an outlet, especially when you're transitioning from going on any kind of active service to civilian life. It is a bit of a shock, and they also have other resources that you can go into that they can help you to get out of the military mindset, which is very focused and disciplined and constantly on the go, to the very slow lifestyle, because out here the structure is completely gone, and that's the one thing that is probably the most jarring when you're out of the service, because when you're in, everything is very structured, very organized. When you get back, you have to make up your own path and your own way of living, and that is the hardest thing. So you need to have a community that at least can guide you back, so you can create your own organization, your own set of you know goals and achievements on a daily basis. And that's the most important thing. Once you get back, find the organizations, find a way. That way you can do it. If you have a family, if you have spouse, anyone that can help you with that works out as well. Just someone to support you, someone to help you, someone to guide you to find your path and find your way.
Great advice. Thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you for having me.